Was a round of young, new QBs winning it this weekend for NFL football, and NFL Week 14 is in the books. But thank you all for joining me. I'm here, Ajo Two and Love, here to recap all the events or most of the events from this past weekend. Also, the Lakers and their performance, them winning the inaugural NBA in-season tournament. We'll go over that as well. The whole transfer portal and how it's been shaking about for college football and stuff. But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, thank you for joining me. On the podcast today, on this fine Tuesday for you folks. Well, don't want to waste too much time, so let's go over as much as we can. So, the inaugural NBA in-season tournament is now in the books. The finale, or the final game, took place Saturday between the Lakers and the Indiana Pacers. Very good. Must say for the Pacers, they've done a very good job throughout the tournament. So good stuff. Yeah, the Lakers just had much more left in the tank after being the Pelicans, the Pacers had a good win, obviously in the semifinals over the Bucks and Giannis and Damian Lillard, but when it came down to it, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, they all had very good days. D'Angelo Russell contributed. I mean, good game all around. I don't know. As they won 123 to 109. So, good stuff from there. So, I think they'll hang the banner for their in-season tournament victory sometime next week. So, look for that. I'd say it was overall pretty good. The format, I liked, numerous blocks for different, or the different conferences. So there you go. Yeah, it was good. Good tournament. Obviously it's not as big as the big NBA Finals, but great to see. Overall, good tournament. Going forward, we'll see. I liked how it started early, I must say. Because, in the middle of the season, teams may not, care maybe as much. But start the season out of the gate, you want to start strong and, yeah, I'd give it I'd give it a B for my overall grade. How it turned out. Riley Leonard, as expected, for the former Duke quarterback. He is now going to the Irish. He has transferred to the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame. You know, last season, I think many thought that Sam Hartman was going to be the missing piece for them to be in contention to win a national championship. That was not the case. Really, the sign was when they lost in that brutal game versus Ohio State, which was a good game, but yeah, that was not the case. So, Ryan Leonard shapes in, you know, good quarterback, obviously more mobile than Hartman. You know, we'll see. Good throw at the football. There's obviously that different element. I mean, when I first was getting into college football, the first college quarterback, you know, I really started watching for Notre Dame was Ian Book. That's when I started watching. And I could tell, you know, he was okay, was a quality thrower, but they were mostly about running the ball. And it's been quite the case for Notre Dame for a number of years now. You know, if they can get a solid thrower of the quarterback, then they can move forward. Obviously, they thought Hartman would be the case. That was nigh. So, see about Leonard. But I think it's a good pickup for the Fighting Irish and good for Leonard as well. Now, he did have some injuries last season, so hopefully he can be injury-free this year, but we'll see. Shohei Ohtani. So, it was originally touted that you know, I touch up upon it a little bit in a short, give my reaction the other day. It was a 10-year, $700 million deal. And apparently, $680 million of that has been deferred. So, what happened was, or at least in the details from what I read, that he'll be earning just $2 million per year for the next decade. So basically $20 million, do the math, $20 million over the next 10 years, and then he'll be making that 680, which was deferred after the first 10 years. So interesting dynamic there. So, we'll see. But, so could this, again, I didn't see too much in details, but could this possibly mean they could add more for the Dodgers? I mean, Mookie Betts, his deal, it doesn't expire till 2031, I think I saw. Freddie Freeman, he still has a deal for a few more years with the Dodgers. So, I mean, we'll see. But there's that. NFL Week 14, like I mentioned, was a story week of new quarterbacks getting victories. I mean, Bailey Zappi, Baker, Fields, Browning, Flacco. Now, Flacco's not a... Well, the funny thing is Flacco is not a new QB, but he's new to the Browns, and it's crazy. But Flacco, Zach Wilson, and I guess we should say Nick Mullins, because he's the one that let down the drive for the Vikings to win that 3-0. Purdy, Levis, Tommy DeVito. I mean, a lot of stories to talk about. So, I didn't give a reaction for Patriots and Steelers. What I'll say is that, good for Zappi. Seems like, if I have to guess, he's going to start for the rest of the season. We'll see how he fares the rest of the season. It's a big one. On Sunday versus the Chiefs at home. At least it's at home, and we know Chiefs offense has not looked quite the same. Now, they'll probably lose that game, but I'm sure Patriot fans want to see, how he fares the rest of the way. It was a fun one in Atlanta. Kind of slow start, but really picked up towards the end as Buccaneers and Baker muster up a game-winning drive, 29-25 over the rival Atlanta Falcons. First off, from the Falcons, Drake London had a great catch over or right in the face of Antoine Winfield Jr. Great stuff there. And they looked like they did enough to get the touchdown and drive to win it, but Baker Mayfield and the Bucs would not be denied as they hold their way down there and wound up winning 29-25 with a big touchdown to Kate Otten. And it's a 3-way tie now for the NFC South at 6-7. Bucs currently are in the lead, but we'll see. I mean, you got the Bucs, got the Falcons, and you got the Saints. One has to win it. And the Ravens certainly won in overtime. Um, I I think we can say game of the week probably, considering how the rest turned about, as Ravens won 37-31 in overtime. Big win for the Ravens. They took control of the AFC, now 10-3. Lamar played out. Matthew Stafford and the Rams, they played great on offense. Did enough, but, in overtime, kick return or punt return for a touchdown by Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State. Great stuff for him. And yeah, Ravens, with the Dolphins losing, and with the Dolphins, Jags, and Chiefs all losing, it's now they still have to play Miami and San Francisco left in season, but for now, fans can start thinking, M&T Banks Stadium in Baltimore, the road to the AFC may go through M&T Banks Stadium. The Bears certainly held their ground this time. Last time in Detroit, they debacled that 12-point lead late in the game. This time, now they did jump up to a 10-point lead, and the Lions fired back to tie it 13-13, but then, mistakes by the Lions, that 4th and 13 pretty much summed it up, jumped off sides, leading to a free play. DJ Moore touchdown is what matters about it. Great grit and fight from the Bears. It's funny. They currently have 2 top 5 picks in next year's draft. And they are also a game out of the playoff race, the wild card race in the AFC at 5-8. For the Lions, I mentioned, mistakes. They're still, comfortable atop the AFC North. However, they still have to play the Vikings twice, so they have to stay steady, and they have to rebound quickly as they go home to play the Broncos, who are red hot after a slow start on Saturday. Joe Flacco and the Browns. Wouldn't it be something? This is a team, it's only been 2 games, but I'd say right now, with the way Flacco has been playing and the way this defense, last week it was bad versus the Rams. This week they played better versus the Jags. So, if they can continue this montage of good defense and sound offense by Flacco, they can play with anybody in the playoffs. And it's great to see because, when the Browns made the playoffs in 2020, breaking that playoff streak, there wasn't a lot of people in the stands. And, they went to Pittsburgh, obviously there's less people for that playoff game. So, it didn't really feel like a celebration of, the drought being ended or what could have been. So, this will be the first time, a full dog pound will actually be the dog pound for the Browns, although it'll be a road playoff game, for them being able to make the playoffs. But yeah, credit to Joe Flacco, credit to the Browns. They won 21-27. Trevor Lawrence suffered a high ankle sprain on Monday night and wound up playing. Shows his grit and determination. He did look a bit off. I guess that's casual when you have an injury like that. And you come back, play the next week. But it didn't look pretty as he threw 3 picks, but, almost, well, I should say still kept his team in the game. So, good stuff there. Saints blew out the Panthers. At first, it looked not pretty, but they found a way to pull away. It's not great for the Saints this year, or as expected, but found a way to win when they needed to, so kudos there. It's not looking pretty for the Texans, though. They got blew out in East Rutherford against Jets. Now, there were 2 games on Sunday. Bit of history. Sunday was, they said, the first time since late 80s that more than one game would go 0-0 in the halftime. This was the first one. I'll go over the other one in a bit. But Jets, pulled away from the Texans. Zach Wilson's first game back. Great stuff there. And yeah. Unfortunately for the Texans, it's starting to look a little bleak after a fun start. Tank Dell got hurt, broke his fibula, out for a season. Nico Collins suffered a calf injury, and we'll have to see how he fares the rest of the way. CJ Stroud got shoved on his head and in concussion protocol, so we'll have to see. But, you know, we'll see. I mean, there's 6 teams currently at 7-6 in the AFC, and there's 2 playoff spots left. So teams are going to be ecstatic and teams will be disappointed. I mean, the Browns are going to make the playoffs the way it seems at 8-5. So yeah. Colts, Bengals, Bills, Broncos, Steelers, and Texans. 6 teams. If I have to bet right now who I'd take, I'd say the Bengals. I would like the Broncos and the Bills. But if I had to guess based on schedules, right now I'm going with the Bengals and the Broncos. So we'll see. And then we get to that other game. And no, it wasn't soccer. It wasn't a soccer game. It wasn't a hockey game. It wasn't a baseball game. This was an NFL game as the Vikings in Las Vegas Now, the funny thing for bettors is that they hit it on the line. That's also funny because as I look at my sheet right now, it's like, look, it says right here, 3-point favorites were the Vikings. And they won 3-0. Now, I thought that, at home, well, no matter which side of the coin you picked for this game, you didn't feel terrible about it because it was only a 3-point game. But yeah, I thought, well, Raiders had a big pass to Hunter Renfrow. They were in field goal range, looking to get the first points of the day. Probably a touchdown, but they fumbled. Since then, they couldn't do anything. Vikings missed a field goal, and then late in the game, Nick Mullins comes in, and I get it. You think Justin Jefferson, and he did have a few catches, is going to help propel this Josh Dobbs-led offense. But then he goes out, for the rest of the game. NBC Sports said he has a good chance to play on Saturday versus the Bengals, so we'll see. But, with him not being out there, again, the offense felt stale. And, Nick Mullins slide in. Apparently, he will start Saturday versus the Bengals. So, is that we know Nick Mullins has more experience in this offense. You know, he's a better thrower technically than Josh Dobbs. But, yeah, we'll see. Not a lot to go about this game other than both defenses played well. Both offenses, not much you can say. And, you know, you feel for Max Crosby for the Raiders because he had a great day. Same with, you know, Harrison Phillips of the Vikings. But, you know, at least they won. Yeah. This had more points. You know, 49ers beat the Seahawks. You know, felt like a dogfight for a while, but 49ers pulled away. Brock Purdy had another stout day. Yeah, not much really go off. You know, Geno Smith was a late scratch because of a groin injury, so Drew Lock, he did have some good throws, but ultimately it was just too much. The 49ers on the road, yeah, who are looking like the best team in football right now, could say. Bills. Now, before I get into that call, just want to talk about the game for a sec. Bills beat the Chiefs. You know, I almost had the exact score, 24. Although technically, if you look at it, it kind of looks like a 0 anyway. Bills won. You know, offense played well to start, 14-0, and then they kind of stalled. Really, it felt like after that pick, it felt like they were doing what they could to get the Chiefs back into it, and credit to the Chiefs, their offense wound up getting back, but unfortunately, their offense just hasn't been as up to par this season as seasons prior. And in the end, after a Tyler Bass field goal, they go up 20-17, which led to a great throw by Allen, managing to escape out of bounds, and he got it done. That was stout play. But, so the call. Kadarius Toney. So, there's a lot of parameters really came down to this. So, Patrick Mahomes threw it to Travis Kelce. He was in the red zone. And then double covered. And then just out of the blue, he saw Toney open. Threw him a backwards pass. And he wound up running in for a touchdown with a little over a minute left. Now, couple parameters. So, first glance, think it's such on they found a way to get the lead and maybe win. So they called Tony offsides. Now the thing is, they have called offensive offsides a little more this season. They said 11, regardless, 11 times. I saw a couple times last night where kind of said the same thing, where some receivers were offsides, but nonetheless, they didn't call them. So, I've only played high school football, but from my experiences from lining up and seeing teammates line up, when they're not sure, they let the refs know. And, and you really made the comment of, okay, well, usually get a warning. Well, at the same time, Kadarius Toney could have said, well, am I good? Am I not? Because you never know with these refs. That's the problem. Refs have been so inconsistent, and again this year, and that's the problem with NFL officiating. We just want consistency. Either call the right plays or don't. I get it, you can't make everyone, but some consistency is why people get so paranoid and upset about NFL officiating. Anyway, so Tony was offsides, so took the play away, and then fourth down and long, they went for it, didn't get it, so that was basically the game. And then there was that video that circulated, Patrick Mahomes, being really pissed at the refs, wanting to go at him. He was very pissed, and then had some words as well on the sideline. Again, mixed feelings going about this. Now, I do get it because, for a number of reasons. I've seen Tom Brady, be really pissed about calls after the game. And people have criticized him for that. I've seen people criticize Mahomes for this. I understand the passion. I do get that. From both sides. I get why Brady did it. I get why Mahomes did. How there's a lot of been a bunch of ways for people to dissect it because, Mahomes said it is the worst call he's ever seen. Now, there's been a number of calls this year that happen going in Chiefs' favor. Heck, the Super Bowl. That holding call, which on one hand you could say it is, on the other hand you could say it wasn't. Nonetheless, it was called. Gave the Chiefs, time to run down more of the clock and win the game. Either way, I'm glad that he's passionate. And the thing is, the receivers, he should be upset at the receivers. Now I get people criticize him for going after receivers, but at the same time, they have not been great this season. Now they are still 8-5, so will likely make the playoffs with their schedule that's left. But about this team, they are not a scary team. I feel right now in the playoffs, especially if they're on the road. I mean, with Arrowhead, we know how that environment is. On the road, the defense is still one of the better defenses in the league. The offense has not been, it's been okay, but it's not been really good. It's not what people expect of Mahomes' Andy Reid offense, so I'll say. And you could say they very well missed Eric Bieniemy. Not saying he was all of the offense, but I'm saying he was there last year. They found a way to make the Super Bowl. The supporting cast is so pretty much there. I mean, Juju, yes, he's on the Patriots, but you get the point. Anyway, Bills win. They're still alive in the playoff hunt. We'll see. They have played Dallas Sunday. Broncos back on the winning track. They beat the Chargers 24-7. Justin Herbert went out with another finger issue and announced that he underwent surgery today for his fractured index finger, and he's out for the remainder of the season. It's been odd for this season for the Chargers. Injuries have very much hindered them on the offense. I mean, it's like to start the year, I'm sure they thought, okay, Herbert, the offensive line back healthy, Austin Eckler, you have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, prove it year for him. You have Clint Johnson, another year of Josh Palmer. It looks good to contend. And then Eckler gets her first week of the season. Lindsley, he has that heart issue. Again, hopefully he heals ASAP. And then Mike Williams out for a season. He'll probably be on the open market. Palmer, he gets hurt. Then it's down to Allen and Clint Johnson. Clint Johnson has had a shaky rookie season as opposed to the guys he was drafted alongside in the first round. I mean, offensive line woes. It's not good for the offense. And, Brandon Staley, if Brandon Staley doesn't get fired in the offseason, I think those that are fans of Herbert and those fans of the Chargers are going to be very pissed. Now, I'm not going to say it's all Saley, but it's all great. It's all great. But good for the Broncos, crazy. They're now a game behind of the Chiefs. Now, I don't think they're going to win the division. Doesn't seem likely from the Chiefs. But, at this scenario of them being there is definitely interesting. And oh my, this was quite a hectic score on Sunday Night Football. Bell for the first place in the NFC East. The Cowboys whooped their counterpart Eagles 33-13. Held the Eagles without an offensive touchdown. Dak looked very well. Lamb had a good night. Stephon Gilmore, he did really well against A.J. Brown. It feels like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown has been off the last couple weeks. I think it's fair to say. Now, it's hard not to see that the tough schedule of the Eagles has definitely hindered them the last couple weeks. I mean, Dallas twice, playing the Chiefs, playing the Bills, playing the Niners. I mean, it's been a grueling schedule. And then they go to Seattle on Monday, which, Seattle is going to be desperate. They are not a great team, but they are certainly no joke at home. So, I mean, it feels like Philly has almost gone away from their identity also. It's been tough. And certainly if anyone could use a bye, it's certainly Philly. But it's just how it goes. But great for the Cowboys, and now the 2 seed in the NFC, obviously losing to the 49ers early this season. And like I said, if Dak won this game and looked good, I'd be willing to say he's in the MVP conversation for those that are campaigning for him to be in the MVP. Now, with all things lined up, with the 49ers having beaten them, with Brock Purdy looking as good as he's looked the last stretch, I give my vote to Purdy, but what Dak has been doing this season shouldn't go wayside, shouldn't be swept under the rug. So, good stuff for Dak. The Eagles need meeting or an intervention or something. It's just they need to calm down, be able to take a break, just go away from this. But they gotta regroup. Gotta play Seattle on Monday in Seattle. Not one, but two rookie QBs won last night in game-winning fashion because of how things lined up. Start with the mailman, start with Will Levis and the Titans taking down the Dolphins in Miami. You know, Tyreek Hill went out early. You know, a number of injuries affected, the Dolphins, but his certainly was felt, throughout the game. It's like a number of things, was a pick six by Levis early in the game. The muffed punt or the punting fiasco, whatever you're calling it, at the end of the game, which set up Miami greatly, and then the bad pitch from Levis to Derrick Henry, which fell on the ground and ended up setting up Miami again. But credit to Will Levis, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but as a sign for going forward and sign of good things to come for the future, this is definitely a building block. Because I think they touted it like teams since 2016 down 14 plus points with under 3 minutes left were 0-767. Now there's a 1 to that. Will Levis, inside 3 minutes, they quickly darted themselves down the field. DeAndre Hopkins had a hell of a game. And, he's having a very good year as well with Will Levis under him. But, yeah, they found themselves down there quickly. And the last couple drives by the Dolphins were pedestrian. And Titans stayed in it. Touchdown by Derrick Henry at the end of the game. Put them up by 1. And Dolphins offense, definitely felt out of sorts without Tyreek Hill. But I also want to say credit to Harold Landry. Credit to the guys up front for Tennessee. They did a hell of a job. And good stuff there. But Will Levis, Titans pulled out. Now, Tommy DeVito. There's something about him. There's something about the moxie he adds to his team. Jordan Love. It's interesting. Jordan Love and, the Packers, they were going into this game very nicely. won 3 straight, thinking, okay, a win ties the Vikings, and feeling very okay inside the playoff race. But last 2 games, you know, and I get it, against the Patriots, he didn't play well, but he did enough to win. Tommy Devito. And then at home, you know, Tommy DeVito didn't play great, but he did enough to win. And, mistakes by the Packers really doomed themselves. And, missed field goal, fumbles. I mean, a pick by Jordan Love. And yet, still, you thought with that last touchdown, and then they missed the weird thing with 2-point conversions is that you always think of a play, or you always have a play design you think it's going to work. Sometimes it does for that situation. But I mean, when it's crunch time and you got to be gritty, I mean, trying to be too cute with 2 seconds or 2-yard play, I don't know. Maybe if it was 1 yard, I feel differently, but now 2 yards change things. And they got the touchdown, didn't get the 2. Tommy DeVito with a good throw to Wan'Dale Robinson, who broke out with a corner route, broke free for 30-plus yards to sum up in field goal range for Randy Bullock. And he wound up winning the game. Now, I must say, I do hate. I had conflicting feelings about the 2 games at the same time, because earlier this season, you had 2 games, so one would start an hour before the other. So it's like, okay, halftime, when first game's over, you can switch back and forth, and it feels more cleanly. This kind of sunk, especially because, ESPN and ABC, they're relatively the same, but we could see the delays in between. So it's like that joy of seeing that excitement on knowing of seeing that Giants field goal is kind of like missed for me, because literally right before the game-winning field goal, you turn to the Titans-Dolphins game. Giants are celebrating. So it's like, that's the thing that kind of annoyed me. But with the delays and stuff, especially when you see one team scores, and you go back and it's like, that happened like twice. But anyways, I wasn't too big of a fan. Now, of course, thing is, if a game is not looking so good, you can go to the other game. That's the great thing about Red Zone. But anyway, Tommy DeVito and the Giants won. So it's like, there you go. Um, yeah, good stuff. From NFL Week 14, we'll obviously go over picks for Week 15, later this week, as well as give them some shine to UFC 296, which is Saturday. So we'll see. But anyways, guys, for now, thank you for joining me. Guys are new, subscription button this side, smash that like button here. Good stuff. Anyways, take care, guys. See you guys soon. Peace.